What is up, ladies and gentle nerds? It is great to be back. I have been recording the last few episodes on my phone because my PC had died, and well, I got a new one. So huge shout outs actually to my parents who made that possible. Thank you so much. It means the world to me. So we are back in action with video. So this is the first episode on YouTube for about a week. So thank you guys um, for bearing with me. The other episodes are available on anchor.fm or wherever you get your podcasts if you are curious as to what happened in the last week and what cards I was looking at. But we are back and better than ever. Let's go. So we are on Gatherer. We're going to go ahead and look at a random card like we always do. And we landed on the third edition of Initiates of the Ebon Hand. All right, interesting. So this card is a 1/1 cleric for 1 summon cleric because it was from Fallen Empires back when the back when creatures had been known as summons. So that's kind of fun. And the Initiative of the Ebon Hand, it's a 1/1 for 1 with the activated ability pay 1 generic, add 1 black to your mana pool. Play this ability as an interrupt. If more than 3 is spent in this way during 1 turn, bury Initiates of the Ebon Hand at end of turn. Huh, that's interesting. So in this, I'm trying to debate if this card is really cool or really bad because in the one regard, it is mana fixing. So that's pretty cool, being able to turn any generic mana into black mana. So, okay, there's a good chance you're going to need that, especially if you're leveraging cards like Crypt Rats or Pestilence that involve a requirement to spend black mana on them. So, okay, there's something there. But the other thing about that is the thing that kind of I find a little kind of troublesome, or it's something that it's not really jiving for me, is the fact that you need to spend generic mana on it. However, it so you have to spend generic mana to produce black mana, but the casting cost is in black mana. So in order to play Initiative of the Ebon Hand, you need to have some other black source available. So you already have black. You already have access to it in some way. And so the idea of giving you access to more seems kind of silly. I'm not really picking up the need for that. So that's interesting. Yeah, see, if this was like colorless or if it produced like red mana or something like that, then all of a sudden we'd be in a situation where, okay, this kind of makes sense. But actually, there is one other situation where I can see this being useful, and that's if you have, I believe it's training grounds. No, not training grounds, tournament grounds. Tournament grounds, that's the one. Training grounds is the mana source that gives you Mardu colors for knights. That's not what I'm talking about. No, tournament grounds is an enchantment that's blue that all activated abilities cost one less, one generic less to activate. If you have tournament grounds down, all of a sudden Tournament Grounds and Initiates of the Ebon Hand gives you infinite black mana right there. Just those 2 cards, boom, you're done. So that's pretty great. Now, Tournament Grounds is a really expensive card because it's very valuable. It can do all kinds of crazy nonsense. So, okay, and this is one such example. Now, the only thing about this particular card, and I think I've moved things around as you can see, so I'm still getting used to where to point. So the thing about uh, so that's one use for it. Now, when they made Initiates of the Ebon Hand, they must have foreseen some kind of event where that could take place, which is why they added a clause that if you've spent more than 3, so if you've turned 3 generic mana into black mana, you then need to sacrifice the Initiate. So, all right. Also, the fact that it's a cleric is kind of interesting. There's definitely a lot of synergy with clerics out there in the greater Magic scheme. Now, as far as tribes go, they haven't gotten the most support, but there is a fair amount of cleric support out there, so you could do something with that. Edgewalker is a card that comes to mind. Actually, if you can get an Edgewalker down, Initiates of the Ebon Legion, well, it would just be free. It'd be free to cast, and that'd be pretty cool. Yeah, Edgewalker is freaking bananas. If you're not familiar, Edgewalker is a 2/2 for 2, 1 black and 1 white, and it makes all clerics cost 1 white and 1 black less to cast. So it doesn't touch the generic mana cost, but if there's white pip and a black pip, it takes them off. And so in a situation like this, Initiates of the Ebon Hand would be just straight up free, just completely free. Yeah, that would be delightful. So it'd be free to put into play, and then you'd be able to. So if you had Edgewalker and Tournament Grounds, then this is just a 100% free infinite black mana for 1 turn. Then it dies. But the thing is, you can, yeah, but it goes away at the end of the turn. The end of the turn, not the beginning of the turn, or not when you cast, like not when you create the mana. It's only at the end of the turn. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, there's just some cool things there. This is an interesting little combo piece, and um, I'm very curious to see where this card is just monetarily. Like what is its stock right now? Because I can see some cool utility options. I can see some cool things that it could do. Yeah, and like I said before, this is the third edition that we're looking at. And what I mean by that is, back in Fallen Empires, a lot of cards actually had multiple artwork. Actually, I think I'm wondering if all of them did, because now that I think about it, every card that I can think of from Fallen Empires, I can think of at least two arts that's available for all of them. Now I don't know that set super well. Like I don't have an encyclopedic knowledge of it, but I know that there were multiple arts. So this particular one that we're looking at, the third edition, it shows a um, what appears to be a female cleric dressed in long flowing black robes that have um, some kind of beaded ornate um, detailing to them, and she's holding up two daggers that clearly have some kind of rune um, that appear to be glowing, like etched into the blades. And so there are two daggers above her head, each with these glowing kind of sigils, and you can also see very similar images, very similar characters that look like some kind of runes, very similar to what's on her daggers, floating around her head as well in kind of a halo formation. Um, and you'd think, oh, kind of like a halo, you'd think almost angelic, but the truth is, it's kind of offset by the fact that she has red, seemingly demonic eyes, and in the background behind her, you see what appears to be a large, jagged, almost demonic image. Again, perhaps some kind of sigil that was like carved into stone, maybe, but part of it is is red, and it's red and black. So it looks really ominous. So clearly we have some kind of priest, a cleric, and they're holding up some kind of s- ceremonial daggers, it appears, and it looks like there's some kind of arcane energy that is not super wholesome flowing through them and around them. So that's kind of intense. Now let's take a look. So I mentioned that this is the third artwork. There are two others. Let's go ahead and take a look at number two. Let's go back from the end here. Whoa. Okay, edition number two of Initiates of the Even Hand is freaking gnarly. I would highly recommend you go check it out. It's bonkers. If you're listening to this on the audio, hop into the YouTube version and you can see what I'm talking about at around the 8 minute mark. This is nuts. So Initiates of the Ebon Hand, yeah, it's the same deal. And it shows these see that's interesting because the previous artwork, the cleric looked like she was in front of, like, that's the kind of image that I would expect behind an altar in front of a congregation, like performing a ceremony. But here we have what are clearly initiates. These appear to be in kind of the rank and file, and they look almost like goblins. They're these little creatures that appear to have green skin, claws. Some have fangs. I'm seeing, and there's one in the foreground that's baring its teeth in a pretty threatening fashion, kind of straight at the camera, and one eye is significantly larger than the other. It looks really off-putting and very unnatural. And it's interesting because they're all wearing, so you were seeing a crowd of these creatures, and they're all wearing these, well, presumably like almost what appear to be like dark green, potentially black robes. Um, I believe they're supposed to be black. The artwork is a little washed out, so they look almost like a dark green that are actually similar to the color of their skin. So I'm not exactly sure what species these are. Like I said, they look similar to goblins. They very easily could be goblins. I don't know. Um, yeah, and there's appears to be in the background, in the middle of this crowd, which interestingly enough, the creatures in the foreground are facing away from it. There appears to be an altar where something is burning. There's a smoke coming up off of it, almost like it looks almost like a funeral pyre. So, and like I said, it's in the background. It's in kind of the middle of this crowd. It's not even a focal point. None of the creatures are looking at it. They seem to not even care that it's there. So that's really bizarre. Not sure what's going on in the front of this congregation, this gathering, because that's clearly where they're focused, and there's something that's more intense than that bonfire right behind them. All right, and now we are looking at number one, the original art, well, one of the arts for initiates of the Ebon Hand. Holy cow. Okay, also gnarly. We definitely landed on the most vanilla, least kind of crazy version of this card. So here we have a depiction of what appears to be a human man wearing a black turban that it comes down and covers his face, and it flows down into a large black robe, and he actually is opening the robe in the front, kind of flasher style, and instead of showing off his six-pack abs, which he definitely has, by the way, just throwing that out there, and whatever other naughty bits that he would be normally showing off with that particular motion, thankfully that's below the camera, so no idea, or that's below the image, so we have no clue what's going on down there. I don't want to know, because right in the center of his chest, right in the middle of his chest, um, is a very large human eye. It appears to be a brown eye that is the width, almost the full width of his chest. And it looks kind of drowsy. There's this drowsy eye in the middle of his chest, and he's just pulling his robe back to reveal it to someone, to us, presumably as the viewer. And I'm not sure what's going on there. So all three of these images present very different depictions of the ebon hand. Here we have a priest using daggers to perform some kind of ceremonial ritual. We have small goblins in robes. Well, I suppose all of them are wearing black robes, so that is a consistent line. Um, yeah, and here we have a situation where somebody is clearly has been modified, has been altered, whether by some kind of human biological engineering or perhaps by some kind of demonic possession. I'm guessing more the latter, given the vibe that we've been seeing from all of these so far. Yeah, I gotta say, Initiates of the Ebon Hand, interesting card. Some combo potential, so I'm listening as a jank player myself. I feel like there's something there, um, but also just creepy and super weird. Yeah, super weird. Interesting stuff. So yeah, this has been Initiates of the Evan Hand. It is it's from Fallen Empires. Looks like this was a common back in the day, so there's presumably more of these floating around. Yeah, interesting stuff. Oh, and that's interesting too. The community ratings on all of these on each art is actually unique, so that's kind of fun. Cool, guys. Well, yeah, this has been a lot of fun. So this has been Initiates of the Ebon Hand. Thanks so much for hanging out. I really appreciate it. My name is Graham, also known as HamHawks42 on the internet, and I also stream over on Twitch, twitch.tv/HamHawks42. Go ahead and check me out over there. I would appreciate it. I'm there every weekday morning, 5:30 to 6:30, or well, as I'm recording this, I'm currently working from home, so it ends up being more like 5:30 to 7:45. But yeah, anyway, go ahead and check me out over there. It's a lot of fun. We have a great time. I'm also on Discord. That link is in the description of this video or this podcast, wherever you're catching it. So thank you so much. I hope you have a fantastic day. Stay safe out there, and I'll catch you next time.